Watching stars on the silver screen. Nerdles gather, it's a movie scene. Sit down, Spock, is he lost in space? Will Khan appear with his famous face? Popcorn ready, spaceship in flight. On this journey we sail through the night. Warp speed ahead on a Star Trek quest. Who's the best? Trek or Taker? Take a guess.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Nerd Holes. We are in the Nerd Hole studio today. We are in the actual basement of my house. That's where the studio is. Isn't that crazy? So we're going to test this out today, see how this works, and be in person. It's kind of fun being in person.
Yeah.
And we can talk over each other in person, and then we can't blame it on Zoom. So, but yeah, so today we are continuing our Star Trek movie in order, and today we're covering The Final Frontier. So if you haven't seen the other 4 Star Trek movies so far, go back and watch them. There's a link here to the playlist, and if you want to check out Star Trek Weekly, go over to Will's page, Daystrom Holodeck, and we cover episodic Star Trek Weekly. But today, we're doing The Final Frontier. So this is my first time watching this movie. How many times have you watched this movie?
Probably less than 10.
Less than 10. That's good.
Maybe less than 5.
Good. So, right off the bat, it seems to me like this is kind of the beginning of a new arc as far as like movies go, because the first 4 flowed together pretty well, and this movie feels like it's in a separate like saga.
Yes.
So that's cool. But I don't know. I enjoyed the first 4 pretty good. And I don't know where I would rank this movie yet.
You like it more than the first one?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. But maybe not. I don't know.
Okay.
Let's talk about it, and then I'll
right.
decide. I'll decide. And then when we get to the last one, I'm going to put them in order.
I like it.
All right. So, what are your thoughts on this movie? Here we go.
Well, it's funny because, like, not that long ago, I literally said to a friend of ours that I was like, I think Star Trek V is growing on me. I think I enjoy Star Trek V. And he was like, Is it?
Yeah.
Is it growing on you? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I watched it, and I was like,
No.
I don't think it is. I don't enjoy 1 that much because of all of the changes and because of, like, some of the stuff that they do in that movie. But man, this is just, it's so weird to me.
It is like a totally different.
Yeah, like it feels completely different to what Star Trek typically is.
It's one of those things that we always kind of joke about, whether, sometimes like they quote like religious things in historical books.
Yes.
And then it's kind of like hinted at like, we don't really believe in religion in the future society.
Right.
And then this movie is like 100% like the Bible.
Yeah, and it's like, well, all species believe in something, right? Yeah.
Even to like the end when the God shows up, and I was really like, are they really doing this? Like, they're really doing this. They're really doing this. And then I was like, oh no.
It's
and I was
Star
like,
Trek.
oh right, Star Trek, so it's a bad alien. Gotcha. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. It's like,
Obey me.
There's no possible. Obey me? Is that what you said? Yeah, pretty much.
That's basically what it was.
Pretty much. Obey me.
Obey me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's weird. It's a weird take. So right off the bat, you're on like Tatooine.
Yes.
And you could tell that they were really pulling stuff from Star Wars. And that being said, Star Wars pulls a lot from the Bible. So it's very like it's good and bad. It's savior. It's all this stuff.
Sure.
So, yeah. So right off the bat, you're like, okay, I don't understand what this is trying to set up. I mean, I do, but also like, how does that fit into Star Trek?
Right.
But then we get like that great camping scene, like right after, and it's like, this is great. This is great.
Yes.
I love these guys together. They're
Yeah.
really having fun camping. McCoy made me laugh like so many times in this movie.
Yes. He has a lot
He's
of.
great in this movie.
Yeah, he has a lot of great lines in this movie.
So it starts with
The planet of galactic peace. Is that what you heard?
is that what it was?
It
Yeah.
opens with the planet of
In
galactic.
Wyoming.
Oh no! I thought you meant
Oh, the desert planet.
yeah.
Yeah.
So before getting to that thing, so they open up on this thing about the galactic peace planet,
Right.
and I'm just like, oh,
What? Yeah.
like that's weird. They don't ever talk about it.
Yeah.
And then the first thing that I thought was weird, and they continue it through the entire movie, is it's super weird that spoilers, Cybok
Yeah.
can sense emotional turmoil
Yeah.
in somebody without touching them
Right.
because he's a Vulcan.
Well, he's just a super Vulcan.
But it's like they've set up even in TOS, not counting anything else after it, like Enterprise and Strange New Worlds. The only way they telepathically communicate is by touching the
Right.
other individual, not just like, oh, I can just read your mind or sense your emotions.
He's kind of like a fake psychic,
Yeah,
where he's like, "Yeah, you have a lot of pain." And it's like, "Well, yeah, who doesn't?
right. Well, there's a thing to it, and we'll get to
Like,
it.
who doesn't have that? You know,
And then,
like the guys out there digging holes in the desert. You know, and
Yeah.
it's like he's like, I can sense that you have a lot of pain. You're not super happy in your life. And he's like, how do you know? Well, probably because
Yes.
you're out here digging holes in
Yes.
the desert,
yes,
dude.
yes, absolutely.
You got no teeth. Yeah, even I could have been like, oh, you have a lot of pain. A lot of
I can
pain.
see you're frustrated.
Your past is real bad. He's like, Vulcan, Jesus, help me. And then there's that whole scene where he's like,
Yes.
he takes his head off and he's like, you're a Vulcan? And he's like, oh, for like way too long.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, ha, 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 ha,
And it's like
ha, ha. It's like,
a
what?
Vulcan who laughs.
What are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah.
So I assumed that this was going to be Spock's brother because I've seen other stuff in Strange New Worlds
Yes.
where it's kind of like he's hinted at.
Yes. Yes.
Isn't he on that like?
He's in the episode that we talked about on the on my channel, which was called I don't remember what it's called, but it has Angel in it, and that person takes over the ship.
T'Pring is like part of that like rehabilitation
Yes,
group
with Stan.
with Stan, who she later marries.
Yes. Yes. So
But he's there.
at the very end of the episode, they go. I think T'Pring and Stan go to where he is, and they say at the end of the episode
right.
with saying Cybok, and you see the back of his head
right.
because he's at the
Okay.
Katesh Kating, whatever
Yeah.
the thing
Exactly.
is called.
No, it will.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
So I had to when we were watching it, I wanted to be like, this is the fifth movie, and I wanted to be like, because in that episode, he understands who he's talking about, and then in this movie, he's like, there's no possible way it could be that guy from my past.
Yeah. Right.
Right. So
Well, you know, the timeline gets a little murky after Spock's been reincarnated, essentially.
True.
Maybe he forgot.
true. Yeah, that's there. Well, we'll talk about that, but they also. So here's the interesting thing: there's gonna be a thing that you're gonna learn in a little bit, but we have the return of the motion picture music,
Yes,
and
I did.
it's odd. I think it's personally odd that they did it. There is reasoning for it.
It grew
but-
on me in this intro, though.
Okay.
I was kind of like, oh, this is kind of cool. This is kind of like
Okay.
more like
Yeah.
of the original series music, but more like, I don't know, like,
Yeah, it's rousing. It's very rousing.
know.
Yeah.
but yeah.
So before we get to the camp scene, this is very reminiscent of the motion picture because it is literally over 4 minutes
Of him climbing?
of him climbing
Oh, yeah.
before he falls to the ground.
Yeah. And to the
Well,
point,
falls.
where like they kept setting it up, and I was like, okay, like there's no way this is going to be Kirk. Like rock climbing. Never once talked about his love for rock climbing.
no.
Never, ever.
Never, ever.
And also, like, in the first motion picture movie, he's like, I'm too old to be doing any of this stuff. And now it's like, oh, I'm just going to scale this mountain. Freehand. Because it's there, Spock. It's
Because
here.
it's there. That's it.
Yeah. Because it's here. Yeah, it was just kind of like, okay, this is weird.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I do like the flight boots.
They're fine, but it's
don't,
also
they
like
don't fit in. They don't fit in this universe at
no,
all. Yeah.
no. It feels very foolish.
And also, like, they just keep showing Spock from the waist up, and it was like, no, yeah, he's
definitely flying.
definitely flying. He's just kind of like doing the,
Yeah, he's not like standing on something, just
yeah,
twisting around.
yeah. Oh, I'm actually have never been more aware of the gravity of the situation.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's goofy.
but yeah, and that's my point. Is doesn't Kirk feel way less serious?
Yeah, and
Like
I kind of
almost
like
like
it.
he's a joke of himself, though.
Yeah,
You did like it though?
I kind of like it in the beginning.
Okay.
In this, they're
And the
on
opening with
shore
the
leave.
cancer. Okay, fair enough.
They're on
Okay.
shore leave. He's not, he even tells him, call me Jim. We're on shore leave. I'm not captain. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
And you can get the sense, this kind of movie is really telling you that like these three guys are like they're friends, like on the ship and off the ship,
Yeah.
like they're buddies.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So he's more casual and open with them, which I like. I appreciate that. But the rest of the movie, I don't know if he felt more like. I don't think he was over the top or felt more of a characteristic of himself.
He just feels like it's like this is the thing that I would say. This is the type of stuff Shatner overacting. Like if somebody was to say, does he? I would say no. But then seeing this, I'd be like, yes, he does. It feels like he is almost like phoning it in.
Maybe. Because even like, how I always do, everybody, I get it from everybody else who's always made the jokes about like, there's got to be some.
Right.
And it's like, I don't feel like he was like that in this
No.
movie. Certain, he has like certain dialects where he tries to emphasize things
Because like
and it falls.
Yeah.
short, but
them in the brig was like a great. He's like, why, why? Like stuff like that.
yeah,
Like
there are scenes where he is like that for sure.
Yeah.
But overall, I don't feel like
And that's what
the
I mean.
whole movie is like that.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. But I feel like most episodes have at least one or two scenes where he's like, why?
Intense. Yeah. Yeah.
Why, Spock?
Yeah. Yeah.
I told you to kill him.
So talk about the camp scene because like
Oh, it's great.
so that's
So
what you like.
so you see 4 minutes of Kirk climbing the rock wall.
Yeah.
And then it goes back to McCoy with his binoculars.
Oh yes.
And he's like, oh, yeah, you'll have a great time, Bones. You'll be able to relax. I'm not relaxing. He says, if I'm not careful, I'll end up talking to myself. I just love that. It was so funny. And then when Spock shows up,
Yeah.
Kirk's like, why don't you go pester, McCoy? And it's like, first of all, for me, I was like, he just called him McCoy. He didn't call him Bones.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, Dr. McCoy's not in a real great mood. And it cuts back to him and he's like, God, me responsible. I was like, this is great.
Yes.
This is so good. He says it's irresponsible. Playing games with life. It's like, oh my God. This is great.
He's a miserable.
Yeah, I love it.
miserable man. Yeah.
They're all in their like cowboy
Yes.
clothes. Oh.
Yes. I read online this is like the third time ever in Star Trek where they like product place. Because Michelob Light was in the fourth one,
Oh, wow.
right? And then this one was the Levi. It was all like Levi jeans and Levi
It's all
coats and stuff.
Levi.
And there's one other, and I don't remember what it was. It's another. It's like there's very rarely like companies shown
That's so funny.
in Star Trek.
It's so funny how they like pick and choose stuff too, because I remember in I think it was the last movie where they're all wearing their like normal clothes when they like take the Enterprise, and it's like very weird clothes.
Yeah.
And now this one's just like, oh, we're on shore leave on Earth, so we're gonna wear Levi's
Like-
and
Like, if anything, McCoy and Spock had like slightly different clothes we would
Yeah.
have like in our day, but not really.
yeah, and Kirk's just wearing a flannel and jeans.
Right.
It's great. Even later on, we'll get to it, but when he gets back on the Enterprise and he's putting he takes his flannel off and he's putting his like jacket on.
Oh.
His shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Shirt is so funny. It says like go climb a rock.
Yeah.
This is what is
It's
this?
so odd. It's just so
Like,
odd.
man, he loves climbing.
He loves rock
Man,
climbing.
I never knew how much he loved climbing.
Yeah.
Ah, so funny.
It's all from the Gorn battle.
Oh
He
yeah,
was like, that was so fun.
yeah. Well, that's how he got up there.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
how he knocked
That's
over the boulder.
fine.
Oh. Yeah, okay, so then they go back to that planet, and it's like, it's super funny to me that the town is named Paradise.
Yes. They definitely explain it, which I appreciated. Because, like, when it first introduces it all, you're like, why would this ever be like this?
Well, it was so funny, too. I was very confused when it was like, oh, the Romulan is here, and the Klingon and the Federation guy, and they're like, yeah, we're like ruling this planet because this is like a peaceful planet. And I was
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, when was there like a treaty between
Right.
Romulans and Klingons, and now everything's like totally fine? They give them this planet as like a
Yeah.
sign of good faith between the three of them.
From what I read online, it is referring to the Treaty of Organia, which is Errand of Mercy episode, and the Klingons and Federation stopped fighting at that point.
Yeah.
And they're saying, I read that they said, when they say 20 years ago we did this, 20 years ago was that episode.
Right.
So if the Federation and the Klingons made this, and because of the Klingons having an alliance with the Romulans, because that's why they have similar ships,
Oh.
they were like using that as like a means of why these three people are together. But it's like they don't explain any of that.
Yeah, exactly.
They just say it.
Because like the last time in my memory is like the Romulans are bad.
Right, exactly.
And I'm just remembering like, oh, you can't go into like their side of space or it's real bad.
Right,
And now it's just like, oh yeah, well, there's a treaty. Like we own this planet. together.
right, yeah.
And it's like the planet is horrible. I appreciate it from
Yeah.
like the my Fallout aesthetic, and it also kind of reminded me like Borderlands. Where it's
Yeah,
like you
yeah,
go
yeah,
into
totally.
This town, and they're like they keep playing the thing on the TV where it was like, "Come on to paradise, it's a beautiful town," and then it like pans out and it's just all this dust and just
Yeah, it's run down
Just-
as like hobbled things. Yeah.
it's all people like doing like drugs and
Yeah, right.
murderers.
Well, they literally say, they're
is
like,
great.
well, we banned them from having weapons,
Yeah.
but then they just made weapons themselves.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
And the guy, also in the beginning part of the movie, like he has like a rifle, but it's like a shoots rocks.
Rocks. Yeah, I thought that was cool. It was like an air rifle or something.
Yeah,
You could tell it was like made with like pipes and stuff. So I thought that was cool.
yeah.
Okay, then we get some great Scotty scenes where he's working on the new Enterprise,
Yes.
and he's like, "This ship was put together by monkeys," and it's great. Also, his uniform is so much better in this movie. He reminds me of like Han Solo,
Oh,
like
yes.
a mechanic
And he has,
version of
like,
Han
the
Solo. He's got
things.
like the stripe on his pants, and he's got like the pockets and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good.
My dad always says
Yeah.
when he feels poorly about himself and his appearance, he'll always say that he looks like Korg.
Korg.
The-
He does kind of look like Korg, yeah.
He does a little bit. He's always like, "Where's my drink?" Is what he's- so
He does.
Anytime
what's
I
funny
see
is
him.
before you even told me that, when I first saw him, the Klingon guy, Korg, I was like, kind of looks like Will's dad a little bit.
he kind of
Sweets and caddies. Yeah, he did kind of remind me of your dad. That's super funny.
yeah. He's like,
Kind of the same build.
yeah, oh yeah, just funny.
It's funny that we see they give him the Enterprise A or whatever it is, and so now they still have to put it together because it was because I was thinking that in the end of the last movie. I was like, this is way too quick to make a brand new ship.
Yes.
And now you see the inside of it, and it's oh yeah, it's just the shell. They got the shell done. It's you have to put the whole Scotty will put it all together.
Well, this is the thing that I don't understand. And I was reading online about it. So at the end of 4, they take it out on a run, and he's like, "Let's do it," and they walk
Oh,
away,
yeah.
right?
And there's one line in this where he's and he's working on that panel. He's like, give it all she's got, Scotty. Yeah, that worked out well. Yeah, this is all she had. Now we're repairing it.
Yeah, yeah.
We're putting it all together.
And he says he gave him 3 weeks. He said he could get it done in 2 weeks, but he gave
Give
him
him
3. But there's
I
a
think
lot
he
of
gave me too much time.
yeah. But there's some weird things in it that when they say 20 years ago, it makes the movie set in a certain time.
Yeah.
So it ends up making this a year after the voyage home. But it feels like it's only supposed to be a couple weeks.
Yeah, because they're coming back from that test run that they went out and.
But there's
in the
like so
movie.
many stuff that they say in the movie that indicate it's a year later. It's only this line that he says that makes it seem like it's really funny. So
That's weird.
it is weird.
Oh well.
But I mean, whatever. It doesn't really
Yeah,
matter.
it's like
but
just gloss over it.
yeah.
The other thing I thought was funny is, so they're trying to get Uhura's trying to get everybody back to the ship because of the red alert,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and you have Sulu and Chekhov who are lost.
yeah.
They're like, "Oh, we can't hear you, Uhura.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of a snowstorm." He's like, and she's like, "I see on the scanner that you guys are in like it's 70 and sunny where you are," and they're like, "Oh yeah, we don't. We're kind of actually lost."
Yeah, Chekhov says.
Oh look, Chekhov. Look, Sulu. The sun. What a miracle. Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah, it was good.
I like Chekhov in this movie.
He's not
This
terrible.
is the best Chekhov we've gotten so far, I think.
Yeah,
Captain Chekhov was great.
he's not bad in this
Yeah,
movie.
he's pretty good.
He also isn't in it a lot.
No,
But
I don't know if those are those correlate, but I like him in this movie, so
yeah.
that's the first for me. Oh, this is also goes back to the camp site because they're got to go get Kirk and everybody.
Oh, okay, yeah.
This is when he gives his line that he knew that he wouldn't die.
Yeah,
When
this
he
is
falls-
the thing we talked about.
Yeah, it's really interesting. He's like, I knew I wouldn't die because the two of you were with me. And he says, I've always known that I'll die alone.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, that's kind of
It's deep, actually.
weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it even kind of plays back to in the end of the movie when
Yes.
Spock's like, you were never alone, so you
Right.
weren't going to die.
Right.
I like that. And then Spock has that like instant marshmallow maker. What is that?
Marshmallow.
Marshmallow, yeah.
So,
According to my research, now we roast marshmallows. It's boom, and the thing comes out. It's like, oh, that looks awful.
two things. Let me see if I can pull it up here that I can quickly show you. So he calls it that in the novelization of the movie. It shows McCoy knowing that Spock would want to study what the ship had in the library computer about camping, paid a computer tech to change all references in the Enterprise computer about marshmallows to marshmallows. And
What?
it also includes characterizations of McCoy and Kirk's reaction, and McCoy's silently laughing when Spock says it.
That is a
But
really...
in the movie, McCoy simply stumbles over the pronunciation to continue the joke.
That's really funny.
But this is the thing I wanted to show you. That this is real. This
What a
is not
what a long way to go for a joke. Oh, that's cool.
craft made like
Like an actual like marshmallow shooter.
yeah, like a dispenser.
Awesome.
It's I don't know what it is exactly. I don't think it toasts marshmallows or whatever he was doing. This time, Kraft jet puffed marshmallows sold replicas of the marshmallow dispenser that Spock used via mail order.
Yeah, but they were long.
Yes.
The marshmallow was like long,
Yes.
and it like I don't think it toasted. I think it literally was just a dispenser where it like automatically like puffs this marshmallow out.
Possibly.
And
I
they're like,
don't
all right, now we toast them.
Yeah. What do we do? Consume them. I know that we consume them. Then what do we do? Oh, yes. Let me.
We sing. Yeah. So then they sing row, row your boat.
Yeah.
It's pretty great. Spock doesn't. Oh, I was trying to understand the words. He's like, it's a song. Spock, you don't understand this.
He's like, I liked him better when he was dead.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's a great line.
And then they have like a Waltons thing, right?
Yeah. He says it's a song. You don't think about it. You just sing it and have a good time. And he says, oh, I'm sorry, Doctor. Were we having a good time? And he says, God, I liked him better before he was dead. Yeah. And then you get the good night, Jim, good night, Spock, good night, Doctor. And then I think I can barely hear it, but it sounds like Kirk's like, well, oh boy.
Yeah, he is. He goes like, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh, so when the ship shows up, the shuttle, Uhura on the shuttle shows up to get him.
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah.
He says, why didn't you beam me on my communicator? And she says, oh, you forgot to take it with you. And he says, oh, I wonder why I did that. I just love that.
Yeah.
I wrote down that the shuttle bay looks great. It's really cool seeing the shuttle come in.
Yes. Yep.
Another thing I noticed at the end of this movie, Shuttle Pod 3
Hmm.
is the Copernicus.
Oh, is it?
So there's the Galileo.
Yeah, the
and then
Galileo
This
is
is Copernicus, but it doesn't look like the animated.
No.
So it's just a shuttle pod, and it says 3, and it says
Well, they lost to Copernicus when it got destroyed.
yeah, it says Copernicus on it.
That's cool.
I noticed when they
That's
when they
cool.
land. I was like, cool, the Copernicus,
Yeah, but
which makes you think that like all shuttle pods are named something different. Because like, why
Yes.
wouldn't you?
yeah, they are. They're all named something different. They're
That's-
named after like science history people.
Yeah, I feel like you only ever see the Galileo,
In the show. I think you see one or two others, but that's about it. Yeah.
and then in Enterprise it's just shuttle pod 1 and shuttle pod 2.
Yeah, they don't call
'Cause,
them
like, why
anything.
would you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But next gen, they name them different.
cool.
You'll see like names on them.
Yeah, so the shuttle pod entering the bay looked really cool. You get that like oversight window,
Yes.
which is great.
Yeah.
This is where Kirk is putting on his
His jacket.
jacket. But before that, he's like, "Oh, I think I need a shower," and Spock's just like, "Yes." And then you see his shirt says, "Go climb a rock."
Yeah.
It's like,
So the guy who comes on the screen and talks to him is Harv Bennett,
mm.
the name that we keep seeing on the credits.
Oh, okay, cool. So also, this movie was directed by Shatner.
It certainly was.
Yeah. So is Shatner like in real life? Is he like fond of rock climbing?
No, but he is very fond of. Not that I know of. He's not really come out and said that he's a bit. But the one thing he's super fond of, to the point of like like he's extremely fond of, is horses.
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
He's very into horses.
That's cool. So he got to ride a couple in this
Yeah,
movie,
right,
which is cool.
right. And also, he's great at it. He knows how to actually ride horses because he's good at it.
Yeah, there's a couple great lines there when we get to it. But he sits in his chair
Yes.
and he's like,
Yeah.
and he's like, I miss my old chair.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, Jim, we all miss your old chair.
Well, the funny thing is, I read that they said that when they built the set for 4, like a windstorm came through the Paramount lot and like destroyed it.
Oh wow.
So they had to go and rebuild everything. So that was almost like Shatner saying he liked the other chair more than the chair they built
really
for
funny.
the set. Yeah. It was kind of like a
It's
thing.
still funny to me that in the motion picture, they didn't bring back the iconic Enterprise captain chair. Like, it is such an iconic piece of like pop culture history.
I agree.
And then in these movies, it's just this lame chair. You know?
Yeah. There's nothing really.
There's nothing special about it. I
No.
mean, even Archer's chair is it's just a, it's just a pilot chair,
Right.
which is fine. But like Kirk's chair is like, it's iconic. I mean,
Yeah.
even like people who aren't Star Trek fans,
No.
you see the captain chair and you're like, oh, that's Kirk's chair.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
now these you finally got your show into like major motion pictures, and it's like, yeah, scrap all that stuff. I get the ship getting upgrades, but I don't know.
Right.
That chair is so iconic. I think that chair. I think it's really a disservice not having it.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that they end up doing because of people not, people out of their control doing things.
I'll
Or
tell
have
you-
too much control, I
I'll
should
just
say.
tell you, when people are making their own chairs and stuff, they're not making these ones.
They're really not.
No, nope. People are even making like the mirror universe Captain Kirk chair because like, even though that was in one episode,
Yeah.
it's super cool. It's got like the high back on it, like the throne, like the Empire throne, but it's still his chair. That's great.
They when they were coming in, I thought it was really funny that the people at Paradise City were like, "Oh man, are those people like they just got overtaken by the people?" And it was like you couldn't see those guys coming in a flat, straight desert. Like, no idea who these guys are.
No clue.
I know what you mean by what you said, but I also felt that also Scotty was like a little more goofy
Yeah,
than
I think so.
than he needed to be. Scotty is
Well,
funny
he-
in the show, but like
yeah.
there's a couple things in it
It
that
was a little
like
bit over the
I
top.
was like, it's over. Yeah, it's too much. It's like an exaggerated version of him.
I loved him up until he Even though it's like a funny scene. He's
Yeah.
like, I know this ship.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And then he turns and he hits his head on the beam.
Right.
And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
It's funny, but
It's
like,
funny, right, but it's like it's not necessary.
no.
I also thought it was weird that Uhura and
Yeah.
him had like
Oh,
a
like,
thing
they
on
love
the
each other.
bridge. That was kind of weird.
It was weird at first. And I was like, I just wonder if like they're super close. But then like when he's in med bay and she's like, oh, there's so many things I need to tell you, Scotty. I was
Right.
just like, what? Where is this coming from? Well, maybe in Strange World season 3 we'll get to see a little.
That would be really funny. They're
Wouldn't it
like,
be-
we're taking this thing and
Yeah.
running.
Oh,
with
they
it.
will.
Well, they've added. Well, they didn't show her reliving her painful family's death of the shuttle accident, so
No.
maybe that's what he showed her.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Oh, turns out my family actually hated me.
Oh,
Cool. Did you know that the guy playing Scotty
okay.
in Strange New World season
Oh,
3?
okay.
Well, he was in season 2, but
Yeah.
did you know that he is the first? I just heard the other day he's the first actor, like actual Scottish actor, to play Scotty.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
I
hilarious.
was like, what?
Yeah, James Newton is like Welsh or something.
It's close, but yeah,
Yeah.
because then what's his name played him in the
Carl Urban.
Yeah.
He's like New Zealand or Australian
Yeah.
or something, right?
yeah.
Yeah. But did you? I like the fact that Spock enjoyed the beans.
I did like that.
That was nice. I actually liked that he was like,
He's
"Oh,
like, well,
these are nice."
these are actually good.
And then the thing that
So
made
what's
me
the secret ingredient? And it's like bourbon.
it's bacon. That's what I thought he was going to say. I forgot it was bourbon.
Oh,
but
right, because he's
doesn't eat
vegetarian.
meat, yeah. But yeah, bourbon. He's like, "Oh, am I to understand that the secret ingredient is alcohol?" It's like, yeah. It's like whatever.
Like how he says, like, bourbon and beans are an explosive combination.
Yes, yeah. And then he says to him, he says, "Oh," so they say something, and Spock makes a joke, and then McCoy is like, "Well, with his Vulcan metabolism,
Something like termite. I think that's like termite.
Yeah.
He could eat a bunch
both
of termites.
termites and not like."
Yeah, wouldn't do anything.
And then I thought of you because we've talked about it like every single time. Is McCoy gives Kirk that glass of bourbon, and Kirk yet again makes a face while drinking.
Yeah.
Like he drinks and he's like,
It's like he forgets what alcohol is every time
Every
he drinks
time.
it.
it's like the Romulan ale, right?
Yeah.
The Michelob Light,
Yeah.
and now this. It's like,
Yeah, it's like, so I don't think he likes alcohol.
and I think it's just a Shatner choice.
I think it's a Shatner weird acting choice.
where he's got to be like, well, it's alcohol. You got to react to it. Yeah, like, oh, yeah, sure, yeah.
Because you can't just drink it like a man and just have the audience know, like, oh, he just drinks bourbon like
Right.
regular.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Now, did you pick up on what that thing was that the Klingons were shooting at and destroying? When she's like, it's from ancient origins, and they
It
blow it up.
was it was an Earth satellite.
It was an
but
Earth
I
satellite.
don't remember what the
It's
name.
Pioneer 10.
Oh, okay.
And that little thing with the man and woman thing on it, it was like the
Yes.
thing they sent out into the. It was the first.
Wow, that's a really funny reference.
So
I
it's
didn't
the
even-
first man-made object to leave our solar system.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it had a bunch of info on it, so like aliens would know about our civilization.
So like, I don't even know. I think it got launched in the 70s. So
Yeah.
like,
Oh, they found it.
yeah, like basically like 300 years later, the Klingons blow it up. Basically, that's like the history of the thing.
Uh-huh.
It's really funny.
And that's
But
what you're making first contact with. Is,
it's Klingons.
yeah.
But here you go, right? I thought you'd be happy. Klingons, more Klingons.
Yeah. I don't like these ones.
Okay, that's fine. No, that's okay.
I don't like
Captain
this
Claw.
guy. Yeah, I don't like his hair.
No,
I don't like his hair choice. If anybody in this movie felt like a characteristic of a character, I think the Klingons were
Yeah.
like trying too hard to be Klingon.
definitely the main captain guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. The lady was okay. I didn't mind this like.
I like to shoot. I like to shoot things.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, we get it.
Yeah,
Dude.
except for Cord. Cord was pretty. I liked Cord. Seemed like a has been.
Oh, the main guy. Yeah, he was great.
fine.
Yeah, he was great.
He seemed
I-
like an overweight guy.
I just feel like this captain guy was just too
he was.
too over the top.
He was
You know, like he was trying to be Klingon too hard.
definitely.
His second in command, she was pretty good, I thought.
Yeah, I liked her. It's really weird that we still get like bizarre Klingon things, like the
It's just
cranial ridges.
Just kind of make it up as they
But
go.
yeah,
I noticed that like Kirk's uniform was different
it was different. It stood out from
from
everybody else's.
everybody else's,
Yeah.
which I guess makes sense as a captain.
It kind of reminded me of the green tunic. That's
It
kind of
did.
what I thought about. Was like everybody has, can have like Chekhov can have the gold tunic in TOS, right? But when Kirk has that green sash
Yeah.
kind of thing,
It's completely
he stands
different.
out different than.
I think that's cool.
Yeah,
His was still red, but it was almost like a felt
yeah, it
material.
was very
Like,
much so, very much so.
And it didn't go all the way over. I mean I like the other one much better, honestly.
Yes.
The one that like folds over with the white.
Yes, yes,
But he still had like the strap with the thing on it
Yeah.
and everything.
everything was there, it just was different. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was that funny part in the turbo lift where, or maybe it's in the shuttle actually, when they're coming back and Kirk repeats the line from the episode that we watched where he says, all I ask is for a tall ship."
Yeah.
And
It's like Hemingway or something? No.
he says, well, McCoy ends up saying a name, and then Spock is like, whatever. I don't remember. I didn't write it down, but he says the thing, and he's like, "Are you sure?" And he's like, "Well, I'm very well versed in the
He's like, "But you
classics."
don't know row your boat.
Yeah. And then Spock just kind of like stands there. Yeah, we kind of touched
Did
on
the
it.
turbo lift talk?
Yes, they had a male voice.
Which floor? Which
I
floor?
think it's like, "Which level, please?" or whatever. He's like, "Bridge, I hope." Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, what?
So this is the thing that I thought was probably in the top 5 dumbest things that they do in this movie.
Perfect, yeah.
Is yet again the Enterprise is understaffed. There's barely anybody on it.
Yeah.
And the guy ends up saying, the chief of staff guy ends up saying to Kirk, like, "We have no other experienced officers." And I was like,
Yeah, that's sad.
what? I was like, I get that it's Kirk and Kirk is cool and blah, blah, blah. But like that line made it seem like every other captain out here is just an absolute moron and only Kirk can save everybody. And it's like, that's such a weird, I don't know. I don't get why they make all these other captains like dumb. Because like when they steal the Enterprise in 3, that guy like filing his nails, he's like, "Oh, we can't possibly have a red alert." And it's like, why?
Yeah, I
Why
don't
make
know.
these guys dumb? They're captains. Like,
Yeah.
make them cool. Like, you look at Enterprise when they bring in, I think her name is Ramirez, or maybe Hernandez, maybe. They bring in the Columbia captain.
Oh, yeah, she's
great.
great.
And
Yeah.
it's like, they don't make her like an idiot. Like,
Yeah.
she's some, well, I don't know what to do either.
It's like, obviously, I'm going to like Kirk more because he's the main
It's
captain
like-
of the show. But
yeah.
like, you can have Enterprise being capable.
To me, it's like,
captains.
we already like Kirk. It's okay if these other captains are cool,
Yeah,
too.
you don't have to make the other captain stupid just to make Kirk better.
Like, yeah, stand out. It's like, yeah, that always annoys me.
Well, and in the second movie, we see like the training process for captains, and Kirk is like really like tough on them,
Right.
and it's like how would they rank to captain if the training is so intense?
Yeah.
You got this fool that walks around with his thing like he's got his horse whip, you know?
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
like
It
get
doesn't-
out of here.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, that's weird.
It bums me out. And then right at the end of that scene, they're talking about the Klingons possibly showing up, and it's like, well, they're probably likely going to show up, and blah blah blah. And then he cuts down to Scotty in the engine room, and he's like, "I'll have whatever he says, like, we'll beat the Klingons there," type of thing. And I was like, how does Scotty know about the Klingons? He wasn't involved in that conversation. Why does he even bring them up? It was so. It was a thing where they didn't think about, like, you don't show Scotty listening, you don't show anything.
Yeah.
It was weird.
Yeah, that is weird. It's also one of these things too where it's like Starfleet is giving the stupid command. It's like, hey, go there and get the hostages, but don't interact with anybody and don't
Right.
like cause a scene and get out of there before the Klingons show up.
Yeah,
And it's like,
perfect.
what are you talking about? You know that's not going to happen.
No,
right? I mean,
no,
that's
not at all.
ridiculous.
Yeah. The
And what about the Romulans? They don't care that like she
apparently
was-
they don't care at all.
Good.
Apparently, I don't know why.
they show up after everything.
They steal everything.
Yeah. God.
I didn't look into it, but I still, every time, I'm always super impressed. That it always makes me think of you, of the Klingon ship. When
It's
they do those
super good.
exterior zoom-ins, I'm like, man, this looks great.
It's really great. Even that scene we were talking about where he shoots the satellite, you can see like the weapon swing over.
Yeah,
You can see like the actual like chamber go.
yeah.
Like that's pretty
Great.
sweet.
It's
Yeah.
great.
It's really sweet like model painting. And we just watched that Adam Savage just put out a couple days ago
Oh yeah.
of like I forget the guy's name, but he did stuff on these movies.
Oh, Mike Akuda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he worked on this movie.
Yeah. Yep.
So you can see like the little detail. He was talking about the guy who used to paint the models and
Yeah.
stuff. And they said he was like really good at painting specific things on the model that the camera would pick up.
Yeah.
And like didn't waste time putting detail in that the camera wouldn't see.
Yeah.
I was like, man, that's super impressive that that's all hand painted and stuff.
Yeah. So all the panels like in the back that are animated, like when you see the grid and you see like the Klingon bird of prey, that's all Mike Akuda.
That's crazy.
It's all him doing that. It's crazy. He's super.
It's really crazy.
And it makes it Star Trek. I mean, it makes it stand out from other things from the era.
I love, he was saying in that video, he's like, yeah, all these people that replicate the panels, they all get just like black acrylic.
Oh, yeah.
And like, because they don't want to lose the light. And he's like, no, you got to use smoked acrylic.
Yeah.
Because when the light is not on in the back, it's completely black on the front. You don't see any of the detail. So it looks like an actual screen. If you don't use smoked acrylic, it picks up the light and you can see the panel lines on it, you know?
That's why I sent you the video, because I thought you would super enjoy it. Because that guy, he knows his stuff. Like, he's not.
How crazy is it that those, and we haven't gotten there yet, but that those iconic, like, what's it called?
Oh, the cars.
The cars. That those panels are so like iconic to that show.
Yeah.
Specifically, like even like I recognize them. It's literally just like colored acrylic with a light behind it.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to just be like a computer screen, like a touch screen.
You just touch it. And like what he said was really funny in that thing too. Was just like, because Roddenberry and he also wanted people to. This is what you're doing.
You went to 4 years of academy training to work this computer.
So they just kind of retconned that, like the software in the thing is coded to you, so the buttons can be different, which is just a funny way to get it.
Get around, yeah.
But I like the fact that he said that you don't tell the actors what's what.
Yeah, because then they're gonna hesitate.
Right. Like, oh wait, was it?
Oh, I need to fire phasers. This one. I was like, no, whatever button you hit, that's the phasers.
Right. Exactly.
I love that. That's such a great.
Yeah.
I love seeing how like prop building and actual like instructions to the actors like flow together nicely.
Yeah, that's super great. Yeah,
it's really cool.
When we get into Next Gen and all the other stuff, like you'll see what makes. I mean, he's great. It's great in this movie, in the last movie, and the next movie. But he's both of them. Mike and Denise are like really, really great people to the Star Trek community.
They seem pretty cool. It's cool that they're husband and wife doing.
Yeah, well,
stuff
that helps.
That's super cool. Yeah. But the part I enjoy is when they storm through on the horses.
Yep.
So that was pretty cool.
Starfleet soldiers are behind us. Close the gates.
Why, there's nobody there. They're like,
wait.
So Spock is so funny to me. This is the type of stuff that I love, is that it's an actual phrase. It's an actual human turn of phrase.
Okay.
But Spock, because of how he is, he takes it like super literal.
Okay.
So in this scene, Kirk's like, hurry up, Spock. They're onto us. And he's like, hold your horse, Captain. I'm scanning. It's just like,
yes.
I was like, I legitimately like I was like, oh my God, that's so funny. It's so funny because he, he's a human computer. A computer.
Yeah.
Also, that's a human phrase, but it's like a dad joke on top. It's just so funny.
It's very layered. It's very layered.
So funny to me.
Yeah.
So funny to me. Oh,
well, speaking of holding your horses, did you enjoy when Spock neck pinched the horse?
I did. Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah. Like, hey, he knows the exact spot.
Yeah,
horses have like
he's knocked out horned horses before.
Yeah. So, and then he throws the cat lady.
This is the thing before the cat lady fight scene.
Yeah.
I think don't you think it's really stupid that either Shatner chose or somebody chose to have him walk in there without a phaser? Yeah, why would he enter? He's just kind of like sauntering in, and he doesn't have any weapons in his hands.
Starfleet said, "Don't cause a commotion." They're all outside shooting. Yeah, because even the other Starfleet people had like phasers. And
right. And it doesn't show. I don't think it shows him getting knocked out of his hand. Maybe it does, and I missed it.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing that.
But here's the weird thing. Not talking about her per se, because that's too much. But when she is on top of him and whatever is happening, it keeps playing this audio.
Yeah.
Not in the background. It's sound effects for her.
Oh.
Right? Yes. But when you listen to it, I am like 99% sure it's like it's like the cut off sound of James Brown's I Feel Good opening. You know the thing was,
I feel good.
but it's like cut and it's just I want to play it for you. Let me pull it up. I don't know what it is, but it just sounds like it to me.
I guarantee you it's Scotty making sounds. They're like, hey, so you did a lot of voice work for the animated series?
Yeah.
And he's just like, oh, yeah, I can do that. And he's just like, wow, yeah. It's pretty good.
So they get in, he gets in there, and he sees all the people, and they're all
But he throws her in that, like, water thing, and she just, like...
yeah,
done.
water billiards. You've played that many times.
Is that really what it is?
I don't know what it's called, but it literally was a pool table with water on the...
But she's, like, dead. She, like, died. She
He
floats,
literally-
like, face down.
From here, I mean, the audience can't see it, but from here to, like, your basement wall over there is
Oh, it's
where
really,
he
like,
throws
30
her.
feet, yeah.
And you're like, what?
She's just toast.
And then maybe she just gets knocked out in the water and then drowned.
So stupid. It was such an unneeded, like, thing, you know?
I liked I do like, though, when he gets in there and they're all like, no, Captain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everything's great.
Oh, everything worked out for our benefit. And he's like, what? Yeah, so you get the Cybok.
Cybok.
Cybok. Cybok.
Yeah.
So you get the Cybok meeting of Spock.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, Spock, you know. He's like, what do you... And he's like, oh, you're under arrest for breaching Starfleet
Yeah.
Law 34 or whatever.
Neutral zone.
I was like, wow, that's pretty funny. And he's like, oh, you learned a sense of humor. He's like, oh,
My intentions were not to amuse
I
you.
wasn't joking.
That sequence is mixed for me when they're going back to the Enterprise in the shuttle.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, good Lord, we have to get there before the Klingons uncloak. And it's like, don't uncloak until we're close upon them. And then all these things.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, okay, like that's 15.5 seconds. That's a lifetime. And then the court is like, yeah, oh yeah, that would be terrible. And then they're like, lower the shields and we'll go in manually. Like, manually? Are you out of your mind? And I'm just like, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
No, it's a giant door.
Right, right. And then that's my point. It's a gigantic door, and he like floors it, and then just instead of like the part that made me laugh was it comes in, right? It's like like it just comes down onto the landing area like super hard for absolutely no reason.
Like manual control, you don't have like backward thrusters or anything.
Right, right.
Like, wouldn't you like floor it in there and then kick on backward thrusters to like slow your progression down? And also, Shuttle Bay is set up in case of an emergency like that because they have an automated rope system that like flies it, like this net comes up and it catches the shuttle before it goes into the bay.
Yeah.
So it's like
so
they're
flying manually isn't.
So they're planned on that, but also they don't. I don't know. It's a funny line where he's like, "Oh, how many times have you done that?" And he's like, and Sulu's like, "Well, actually, this will be my first time."
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Also, don't you think that like just like a ton of people come out of that shuttle after they land?
Yes.
So like, there's all these close-up shots of them like flying the shuttle like into the bay, and it's like your core cast.
Yes.
And the 3 leaders.
And then all of the Starfleet guys that were down on the planet that they brought like that.
And why would you bring all those people? It's like, because their plan is like, we're going to go get the ship, then we're going to go and we're going to go back and get the rest of all the people that we're freeing from this planet.
Right, right.
So they're like, okay, we'll bring the captain, bring Spock, bring Chekhov, bring Uhura, bring all the Federation, or not Chekhov, Sulu.
Sulu, yeah.
bring all the Federation. But it was like, why would you want to be outnumbered that many people? You need like Sulu and Kirk.
Right.
Because you need Kirk to like tell everybody like this is what's happening.
Right.
I'm giving up command of the ship. And
Yeah.
you need Sulu to fly the shuttle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very strange. You know, there's a whole fight scene. Spock doesn't shoot him, you know.
Yeah.
But then they're like, all right, put him in the brig. And then it's this whole, and it's like all these people come out of the shuttle. Like a clown car.
Yeah, it was.
And it's like, is it the whole, I was so confused. I'm like, is it the whole town? Is it,
Is everybody?
why are
there?
they going back to the planet to get, yeah.
There's a scene when he's fighting Cybok in the shuttle bay. You can see some stunt cords on Shatner getting thrown around.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
Which is funny.
I didn't notice. Yeah.
But this is the thing. This is my one of my other things.
Oh,
that
your
makes
top
it
five.
top five dumbest things.
Mm-hmm.
I always dislike it, no matter what it is, whether it's Star Trek or not,
Yeah.
when writers make a character have a complex background that was never mentioned previously.
Ever. Yeah.
I never enjoyed that.
Oh,
where
he's
it's
my brother.
right, and I'm just like, it's like, well, I didn't shoot him because he's my brother.
Yeah. He's like, what are you talking about?
And he's like, you don't have a brother.
Well, not exactly.
He's like, well, I have a half brother. Kind of like that's how he comes back at Kirk with it, and you're like,
Okay. So why? So again, why didn't you shoot him?
right? Yeah.
Well, I couldn't kill him. He's my own flesh and blood.
He's
Like,
my half brother that I have no relationship.
he's my dad's son.
Yeah. That always bums me out. I hate when that stuff happens.
Yeah, it's one of those things that they do.
They do it a
No-
lot. They do
no
it like in
background.
so many things, right? It's like, well, we want this thing. We want this to make sense. It's the whole Michael Burnham thing in Discovery. It's like, well, now it's his adopted sister. It's Spock's adopted sister. You know,
you just
it's
like
like
add characters. Who cares?
right. And it's just like, oh, the person he never mentions in the show. It's like, well, then the excuse is like, well, he doesn't talk about Cybok, so why would he would just talk about Michael Burnham either? It's like, oh my god.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that I hate that they do is like they retcon characters into being related.
Yes. Yeah.
So like the one that always stands out to me is like, you know, you've had Wolverine and Sabretooth fighting in the comics for years and years and years.
yeah.
And then they make Origin,
Yes.
the movie, and they're like, oh yeah, they're brothers.
Yeah.
They grew up together.
Yeah.
It was like his dad had two sons.
Two sons. Yeah. It's like this. It's like Cybok and Spock. It's basically
Why?
like this.
Why do they need to be brothers? That doesn't like do anything for the story.
Well, it's like well, that explains why they have similar but different mutant powers.
Yeah, that's stupid.
So that's like the break scene. The funny Morris code thing with Scotty stand back. That's funny.
Yeah.
That was pretty decent.
He says, "What are you standing around for? You've never seen a prison break before?" Yeah, I enjoy that. You know, the other thing I didn't talk about is it like the captain's war room?
Oh,
It
it's
has
like an
this-
observation lounge.
That has
yeah.
like this ship, the old ship in the window. I thought that was super cool.
Yeah,
The old,
yeah.
Actual
The
like,
the wheel.
yeah, the ship wheel like in the window. I thought that was
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know if that was like the captain's.
I think it's like an observation
Yeah,
lounge.
because they kept going in there. Like every time like, Spock needed to talk to him, they would go in there. Like it was like the war room. I thought it was cool. I like how they didn't have time to get any of like the major ship things functioning.
Yeah.
But they put that like steering wheel and stuff in there. Got that room all set.
Yeah.
With all like the historical artifacts for Kirk.
Yes. Yeah.
But they're like lights. Yeah, we don't have lights.
We don't know what those are.
No idea. That's a great scene too, where they're going up the shaft, and he's got the boots on.
When they're going up the shaft, you see like the number, like the deck numbers. Some of them
Yeah.
like repeat on accident.
Mm-hmm.
They're like 53, 70, like 68, 72, 53, 72, and you're like, uh-oh.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely didn't just like start at the beginning and film that like 3 times.
No.
In sequence.
Yeah.
Like
They're like, this will go by fast enough. Nobody will notice.
he pulls an Iron Man thing where he gets like to the very bottom and he's like fire thrusters, and then
Oh.
fire thrusters right like into Sulu's face.
Yeah.
I like that though. I like all three of them just like holding on to each other and like going up the shaft. I thought that was pretty fun.
Yeah. I thought it was an interesting decision to show McCoy's dying dad.
Yeah, right. So that whole sequence to me is like, wow, this is a little bit heavy.
Yeah.
This is a little bit heavy. It explains a lot of his character, but also like you've gone so long without knowing anything about McCoy's background. Now it's like, oh yeah, he like mercy killed his dad.
dad,
and then,
yeah.
like Akira came out like a couple weeks later for what he
Yeah.
did. I was like, dude, that's messed up.
That's messed up. Yeah.
That's messed up. Also, I was very confused because you don't see anybody else's like past trauma being
Right.
fixed, and now all of a sudden it's like they're in this room, and Spock and Kirk are also able to see
it. That's
And
it's very
I don't
weird.
understand why.
I think the thing that they try to convey, and they don't do a good job at it, is Cybok says, like, well, they have a great bond with each other. So it's going to be extra hard to get these guys to, like, see the light, essentially, right?
Yeah.
To see the side of no pain, like
Right.
pain-free existence.
Yeah, because even McCoy was kind of like, you should let him do it, Kirk. And then,
Yeah.
like, right after he was like, Spock is like, hey, so I'm not the same, like, person. Like, I don't really care about, I've, like, mended things with Dad, so I really don't care.
Right,
about him
right.
Not liking me as a child. And he's like, I'm not going anywhere with you. And then McCoy was like, well, I guess I'm not either then. So
Yeah.
it was like, he didn't really have a strong grasp of these guys that he thought,
Right.
which I like. I like that their bond, like you said, their bond is pretty good.
The other thing, too, was when Kirk was like, he's like, no, that's what defines us. He's
Yeah.
like, I need my pain.
Yeah, I know. I like that. I like that
Yeah.
speech too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you think about it, it's almost like it's a combination of him being like, no, kind of thing, right? Like, this isn't, you're not helping anybody, right? But also a combination of like, he has so much hurt in him that like, he doesn't want to face it.
He knows.
Also.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to face any of this to know that it sucks.
Yeah. We'll have to see all those things that he all these really awful things that happened, and then like the next week he just was like, all right, on to the next mission.
What they should have done was like, I think it would have been a good callback to keep this line going through the films. Is like when he goes, no, Captain, I think you know that. Like he says, no, I need my pain. And he goes, is that true though, Captain? And then to have the actor who played David
Oh man.
like show up in the background, and he's like, Father, and he's just like, and then Kirk's like, no, you know, you know what I mean, type of thing, like,
Yeah.
like, and then break free of it, kind of thing. Like, I don't know,
What's her name from like?
or Edith
Yeah,
Keeler,
yeah.
yeah, even
Edith
that
shows up,
I mean,
like,
that would have been ultimate.
Why
but-
did you push me in front of the bus, Kirk?
So, another 3 in the top 5 dumb things
Yeah.
is the fact that Kirk and the rest of like the people who are not out of their minds, apparently brainwashed, are kind of just chill with Cybok. Just
Oh yeah.
they don't ever really like super fight back. Like he fights obviously in the shuttle bay, and then they try to do a prison break and do some stuff, but like nothing happens.
Well, even when he like starts giving his speech over the intercom in the
Yeah.
prison scene, you have these people that like just come out of their room and they're just like, oh. And it's like, why are they going along with this? I don't understand.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
It's like Starfleet, like officers just kind of change their alliance all the time, depending on like who's in charge. And it's like,
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like how, because it's like it's not like
Yeah.
he fixed everybody's pain on the ship.
Right.
It's just kind of like they came out and they were like, this sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, if there's just officers wandering the ship, like why aren't they also trying to free
Nah,
Kirk? Or
no.
so they get to the middle thing. They get to the Great Barrier.
Yeah, so that's the thing.
Yeah, correct.
Cybok's like whole thing in this movie is like I'm trying to find like heaven.
Right.
I'm trying to find like where God resides.
Yeah,
basically.
like ultimate knowledge.
I
right?
had a vision.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just like, okay.
And I thought it was really weird for a Star Trek movie for them to get to the Great Barrier and they don't report anything. They don't scan it.
Yeah.
They don't say anything about it. They just keep progressing into it.
It was like Kirk's curiosity was too much and he was just like, all right, we're doing this by the books, and then he didn't do it by the books.
Right. It's like, well, what is this thing made of? Why does it look like you're flying into like a neutron star?
Yeah, it doesn't look like a planet. It looked like an actual
Yeah, it was really
power
weird.
source, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. And also, the other thing I thought was super funny was like when they land on that planet,
Mm.
it just looks like the desert again.
Yeah, California.
Yeah,
Right?
it's just like the, you know,
Yeah.
and everybody on board was like, oh, you have to look at this. And it was like, it looks just like everything else.
Yeah,
There's nothing special about it. It's not like a Garden of Eden.
nothing.
It's not like beautiful. It's just like, oh yeah, there's some peaky mountain tops, like plateaus
Right.
in a desert. And it's like, this isn't like, that's not my view of what like
No.
paradise or heaven is.
Right,
You know?
right, right.
You know, and it's like, what are you talking
And I
about?
almost thought for a second they were going to do this thing where like everybody was seeing a different thing,
Yeah.
right?
No.
Like for Spock and Cybok, they're seeing like Vulcan heaven, right?
Yeah.
So it's like a desert area.
Green-blooded Falcon.
Yeah. But
It was weird.
to take a point in the other direction,
Yeah.
one of my favorite lines in this movie, which is where I originally was like, I think it's growing on me. But I still like it, and I think it's a great line, is what does God need with the starship?
Yeah.
I think that's just a great, like, excuse me, just a question.
Mm-hmm.
What does God need with a starship?
Yeah, because everybody else was like so like enamored by like, oh my god, this is actually God. And
Right,
Kirk's like, why do you need my ship?
right.
You know, like it came down to like his ship. Like, first of all, I'm not giving God my ship. Second of all,
Right.
what do you even
like,
need with a
like,
ship?
why would you need
Yeah.
it?
Like, oh, so my message can spread throughout the galaxy. And I was like, why do you don't need a ship for that if you're...
He's like,
He's like, who are you? And he's like, who am I? You're God. You should know who I am, God.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
And
exactly.
and he's like, oh, yeah, obey me. And he like shoots lasers.
out of his eyes. Yeah.
It's like, oh, man, this is an
He's
omnipotent
like,
God. And he's
what
like,
do you think about this? My power.
yeah,
And then there's so many scenes.
do as
that
I command.
I like all the scenes where they cut back.
Why
to,
would God shoot me in the chest?
I like all the scenes where they cut back to Kirk standing there, right?
Why?
And he's got the smoldering,
Yeah.
like chest burnt, and it's like smoldering.
Yeah.
I enjoyed all
That's
that.
pretty great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then even to the point where like now like McCoy is picking up on like, hey, this isn't good. But then Spock stands up and gets shot.
Yes,
And then
yes.
McCoy's like, I would never take orders from any god or man that's, you know,
That
This
hurts people
cool,
for
yeah.
pleasure. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, yeah. And then even like Cybok's like, who? I don't understand. I don't understand what's going on.
That's not how this would be. Like, yeah. But the part in the top 5 dumb is so Spock will not shoot his brother,
Yeah.
which potentially may not kill them because it was like a rock gun. It wasn't like a phaser, like it was going to disintegrate
It
him.
almost looked like a flamethrower.
You're right, whatever. He won't shoot him because it's his half brother.
Yeah. But he'll let him kill himself.
But, right, they'll let the torpedo
Yeah.
blow him up, and it doesn't kill the creature, the entity.
No.
It kills Cybok.
Oh, yeah,
definitely.
immediately, yeah.
And I was just like, why?
I just was like, this was the scene too. It was like so funny to me. It was like Psylocke is like he's got like one move, you know, he's got one move. So like he's finally putting together like this god is bad, and he's like, oh, I know what to do. And he's like, I can see your pain. Oh, you have so much pain. And he's just like,
Oh, no, I don't have any pain. Yeah. Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
That's his move, you know.
That's his only move.
He's like, oh, I can sense much pain.
Yeah.
It's like, wow,
Yeah.
get a different move.
So the last thing I had before getting into some trivia that you'll appreciate is wouldn't you think that it would have made a lot more sense to have Cybok be written as he was collecting pain and memories as a means to feed the alien?
Mm-hmm.
And that was the whole thing, and it gave reason to why Cybok had all this ability
Yeah.
and all of this stuff. Because at the end of the day, what you're supposed to believe is that he is a Vulcan who doesn't ignore his emotions,
Yeah.
right? This entity talked to him from the center of the galaxy and said, I am God, essentially. I'm Shakari,
Yeah.
the Vulcan pagan mythology god,
Yeah.
and come to me. And he had no way to get there, so he hijacks a starship, and it happens to be the Enterprise where Spock is on.
Yeah.
And that's the story.
Yeah.
And it just feels like they focused on the wrong things with him.
Yeah, I think so. I think that makes a better storyline. And like you said, like collecting everybody's pain to like feed the entity.
Yeah, like, and then he's a giant pain monster, right? Like, oh, Yes.
Oh, it's all so juicy.
And then you could even get into something where it's like, no, he's not God, he's the devil, kind of thing. Like you could get, and then it's like, well, he's still not, but like you know what I mean. Like you could get into other interesting ideas.
It's one of those things where it's like it just feels like they wrote the story, and then at the very end they were like, well, we can't actually make this be God, because that's not Star
Right.
Trek doesn't.
That's not true.
And they're like, oh well, what if? Let's see, what have we done before? What if it's an alien?
And he has godlike powers,
And he has this amazing ability. Yeah, that would work.
but he's trapped.
Yeah, you can't leave the planet surface.
He can't do it. Why can't he? He can't
Because the atmosphere
because it's blue.
is hard.
Okay, so here's some trivia before we conclude. Co-writer and director William Shatner once remarked that he initially intended this movie to be written by thriller and fantasy author Eric Van Lustbader. Shatner is quoted saying, "My biggest failure in making the film was I had read some books by this Lustbader, who had written some wonderful novels about an American in Japan and how out of place he felt." Shatner says, "I thought, God, that'd be a perfect movie for Spock. Like a perfect story for Spock. I went to see him. We walked the streets of New York pondering the plot of Star Trek. He recalls that the author was a fan, and he thought, man, I've got a best-selling author ready to do a Star Trek story, but they couldn't agree on the novel rights, and they lost him." And then Shatner says, "And my movie was going downhill before it even started."
That sucks.
Yeah.
I wonder why they lost the novel, right? Like, why wouldn't you just, like... I don't know.
So Gene Roddenberry, who since the motion picture had no formal creative say in the films by that time. That's why he's known as an executive consultant on the things.
I guess I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so all subsequent movies were vehemently resisted by Gene Roddenberry, particularly The Final Frontier.
Oh.
He went as far to have his attorney prepare legal procedures against William
Oh,
Shatner.
my God.
They didn't proceed, but his position was that that he declared the film apocryphal.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
How could... That's crazy to be, like, that adamant, like, against, like, an actor that had worked for you forever. Like, I'm sure, like, they knew each other pretty personally.
Yeah.
And to be like, oh, I'm going to sue you if
Yeah,
you ruin
they're-
Star Trek.
And there's stuff where they talk about how, like, the secretary to Gene Roddenberry was saying, like, Bill Shatner is, like, he's awful. He's, like, he's ruining, he's taking... Because I guess they talked about, too, is, like, it was a story kind of that Gene Roddenberry had written, like, 10 or 15 years earlier. And, like, Shatner was stealing it, kind of a thing. Shatner says that, obviously, Shatner says that I didn't steal anything from Roddenberry, but, you know. Two sides to every story.
Yeah, right. You would think that, like, Shatner would have, like, just consulted with Roddenberry about stuff to, like, help him put a movie together if he really thought his movie was going off the rails, like, immediately.
Yeah. So the crazy thing is, and you'll appreciate this, this is the first movie that came out. So they made the movie during the second season of Next Generation.
Oh, wow.
And it came out while the third season was on air.
That's crazy.
So they were making Kirk movies when Next Gen was on TV.
Huh.
So this is the first one because four nothing had come out yet on TV. So a lot of it too is like they're putting a lot of energy and time into the show and things like that too. So a lot of that is that. Here's a really weird thing that I thought you would like.
Yeah.
The name Shakari was taken from Sean Connery because they originally wanted him to play Sybok.
Oh. Interesting. That
But-
would have been kind of cool.
He was busy working on The Last Crusade.
Well,
So he was
at least we got one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would rather
I think
see
he
him
made
in-
a great choice.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Honestly, what he would have been good for in this movie is like the actual like God entity.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
You've traveled long distance to get here.
I am God.
Oh, I am God. Obey me. Obey me, Junior.
The yeoman. Obey me, Junior. Yeah, when Shatner comes to the bridge and the yeoman gives him the jacket, that is his youngest daughter,
Oh, cool.
Melanie Shatner. So
That's cool.
That's cool.
That's cool. Is that her shirt that she let him borrow?
Maybe I don't know.
Go climb a rock.
That's right. So here's what we're going to talk about: two different things. So William Shatner stated in his Star Trek movie memories book that he came up with this story idea of the search for what turned out to be a false god while he was watching at the time controversial televangelist couple Jim and Tammy Faye Baker on television.
Oh my God.
He was amazed and disgusted by the idea of such vulgar people had the audacity to purport that they alone were the harbingers of God and had become rich from donations by their followers.
Cool. Yeah.
So you can kind of see
Oh yeah.
that
He's
using Cybok as like a fake televangelist.
but he's making that's how this movie feels. Is it feels like the director is making a direct, like, this is how I feel about this.
Yes,
He's really digging into like false gods and charlatans and
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, you can feel that for sure.
Yes.
That's what it's about.
Yeah. So this movie did very poorly in the theaters. It's not the least poor Star Trek movie, which is surprising, but
Wow.
it is. It's the lowest of the 6 movies. So they feel this is what people have said and remarked, and the production company has remarked why it failed. 6 reasons.
6. Just 6.
Yep, just 6. 1988 writers strike.
Yeah.
Pre-production and shooting schedule were severely trimmed.
Mm-hmm.
Paramount decided that this movie would be comedic as 4 was. So they pushed all the funny haha stuff
Oh, boy.
because 4 did really well in theaters. It's a big, like I said, it's a audience favorite. It's not necessarily fan favorite, but it's an audience favorite.
Yeah.
So Paramount was like, "Yep, that has to be the same exact way."
It's so funny how these like executives, they pick up on like 1 or 2 things in a movie.
Right.
And like that's why it's popular. And it's
Yeah.
like that's not why it's popular at all.
No, it was a good story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shatner had made a deal with Paramount that if Star Trek 4 was successful, he would be contracted to direct the next film. Although, according to his book, Shatner and Nimoy had what Shatner referred to as favored nation clauses in their contracts, meaning essentially that what one got, the other got. According to Shatner, it was Nimoy who put the idea of directing Star Trek V in his head during the production of Star Trek IV, telling Shatner that because of their favored nation status, he could successfully demand to direct the next film.
Because Nimoy did.
Yes.
Interesting.
So it was kind of a thing where like Shatner was like, I guess I'll do this because it's in the contract.
That's a bummer. I think it's cool that he got to direct.
I think it's fine. Yeah. Surprisingly to you, now where we are in the time, our actual time frame, this is kind of surprising, but at the time, people didn't like the Next Generation. So
Because it was way different.
way different and not those people. So you can see they're coming out with these movies and then on TV it's completely different people.
Yeah.
And then that happens today too, right? Like why? It's like, oh, Chris Pine stuff is great. Oh, but we're going to put these people on TV. That's like, why aren't you doing Chris Pine stuff? It's
Yeah,
kind of the
right.
same stuff.
Yeah,
So-
I don't know. I think right now in history, it's interesting because like Strange New Worlds is received very well,
Yes.
and that's a current
Yes.
show.
But that's also be look, there are no movies. So see,
Yeah.
there's no competition.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The only competition is Discovery, and everybody hates Discovery.
For the most part, yeah. Also, ILM, Industrial Light and Magic,
Yeah.
was not contracted to do the effects for the film due to the unavailability of the company. So they went with a lesser known company, Associates and Farron. And the results were poor quality and obviously unfinished special effects shots. And ILM was working on, I think, Last Crusade and something else.
It's so funny that they ILM did that. I
Yeah.
was trying to think like what they would have been working on at the time. I don't think there's a couple parts in this movie where the special effects are like, oh, that looks
They're
kinda
okay.
weird. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not terrible.
I think him falling off the cliff in the beginning is like pretty.
It's kind of rough, yeah.
Yeah.
But I've seen worse.
Oh yeah.
And then the last, which was funny because now we're going to harken back to 1984. Search for Spock comes out, and it's like Temple of Doom, Ghostbusters, Gremlins, right?
Yeah.
So now this movie comes out, and they're competing with Batman, Michael Keaton Batman,
Michael Keaton Batman.
Lethal Weapon 2, Ghostbusters 2,
Wow.
and
Gremlins
Last Crusade.
Oh my god.
So
Wow.
That's why-
that's a rough slot.
that's kind of why they are like, yeah, this didn't do well.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of, I mean, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. It's not.
No,
It's
I
definitely my least favorite Star Trek movie.
yeah. Yeah, I can get behind that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can get behind that. I think that's the thing about Star Trek in general and even the movies is like even if the episode is bad,
Yeah.
there are like genuine things that like I pull from the episode that I enjoy
Yeah, same.
about characters or about the
Same.
story.
Yeah. There's still development and still continuation of things that
Yeah.
are decent. Yeah.
So if you took this movie and you just made it just McCoy, Kirk, and Spock camping, and that was the movie, like I'd be like, this is the best Star Trek movie ever made.
Like it's just a
Yeah.
like a free guy like lost in the woods
Yeah.
like story.
Yeah, it's like the Cyborg stuff is fine.
Yeah.
You lose me at the end when like now everybody's just on board with like finding this like God at the end.
Yes.
It's
And-
just too much. It's just too much at the end. But I enjoy like all the characters on the ship and
Yes.
the Enterprise getting like rebuilt and
To me it's a super lame ending to have them torpedo the thing. It kills Cybok. It doesn't kill that guy.
yeah.
They get back to the shuttle. They beam up Spock and McCoy because, of course, they can't take everybody. That's
yeah.
how it always works.
Yeah.
And then it's Kirk down on the planet all by himself yet again for the 9th millionth time. And then here it comes, the face of God, ready to kill Kirk. And he's shooting lasers at him, and he's dodging and rolling. And then they just shoot him, and he blows up. And then they're like, "See you later." And I'm like,
Yeah, he withstood a ion torpedo from the Enterprise.
"Yeah,
And then the Klingon ship shows up and just shoots him with like just a regular like phaser blast.
yeah,
And just blows him up.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty lame
yeah." It's lame.
that's a pretty lame thing too. Not only that, but like the whole like you're a Klingon, like war hero basically, but you're retired and they put you on this planet because nobody cares about you anymore.
Yeah.
You can tell this guy what to do.
Yeah.
And he's just like, oh, you're gonna get Kirk and you're gonna let him go. And he's like, oh, I apologize for shooting at your ship.
Yeah.
And like everybody's fine now.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
It's lame.
why did you even put Klingons in the movie? Like there's meant to be like the adversary, but they're also not the adversary, and then you just fix it by having a general tell them like,
You
hey,
would-
don't do that.
You would think that would have been the better choice. Would have been the Romulans.
Yeah.
Right? They're here to disrupt the galactic planet of peace because that shows that we're not at peace. Like, peace is not achievable.
Yeah.
They have the cloaking technology. They do all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then they learn about this thing from Vulcan mythology, which harkens back to their ancestors. And they're like, oh, well, if this guy thinks this thing exists, maybe this would be a unifying thing. Like, they follow through with it because they also want to know because they're information gathering
Yeah.
species, right?
So if the Romulans join forces with Cybok,
Right.
it's a better story already.
And then when the thing is fighting, they use their giant thing that blew up the starbase in Balance of
oh my
Balance
god.
of
Yeah. Do you see it, Enterprise?
Balance of Terror, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you see it, Enterprise? And they shoot that thing,
Yeah. Boom. Yeah.
right? And it kills the thing because it's like a
They just blow up the whole planet. and just
right,
be over
it's a
it.
giant
Yeah.
whatever thing that they have. To me that makes way more sense. But Klingons are Klingons. That's why I said they always do more. Klingons are great, and I like Klingons, but they always do way more Klingon stuff than like any other species.
Yeah.
Like we got to see Spock getting born and the priestess being involved and handing it to Sarek, and like that was cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
So human.
McCoy's backstory is interesting for his character.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just kind of like the ending. The ending is just lame, like altogether. Like blowing up the alien. The Klingons are like fine now, like, and they're even like drinking and eating at the end all together,
Yeah.
like all celebratory.
And it kind of
just
seems
like-
like you're saying, it kind of seems like they were just making, like Shatner wrote it or directed it in such a way so that they could just get back to the camp scene. Because then the movie ends with the thing. And it's fine. It's
Yeah.
fine. I don't dislike it. But it just feels like that's the movie. The movie is about them trying to be on shore leave. And this other thing like sidetracks them.
Yeah, even though it's like one of the biggest questions
Right.
of human history and Vulcan history, and
Right. Dorian and
Yeah,
Klingon
everybody.
and Romulan.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
and they're just like, I just want to be eating beans by the campfire, man.
They sang,
Wouldn't it have been better too if, like, the first time we see Kirk, he's not climbing a rock, but he's just like fly fishing? Like, like I can picture Kirk, the Captain Kirk, like just fly fishing in this beautiful, beautiful, like tranquil river.
Yeah.
Because it's like, again, it's like he's never made any mention about rock climbing. It's such a weird
Yeah.
choice, even like from Shatner's point of view. Like, why did you pick rock climbing for this 65-year-old captain?
And I think that's the point, is to
understand.
show that like he's not an old man.
You've already like shown that.
I think Shatner didn't like that they were making Kirk old.
Yeah, because he was like 40, and they're like, hey, so you gotta be like 80 in this.
Right.
Well, it's like, so he in the motion picture, it's like he's retiring. He's an admiral
Right,
now
right.
because he's older.
Yeah.
But it's like he's proven that like he's not.
Right.
He's not old to retire. And now there's been 4 movies,
Right.
and now this one's like, oh yeah, he's young. I mean, you might as well put him on a skateboard.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, look how hip and cool and young he is. He's totally
Hello,
Captain.
fellow
Yeah.
students. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a weird.
It's weird.
It's a weird choice.
It super is.
Yeah.
And I don't disagree. And I think that it's not unnecessary. I
Yeah.
think it's unnecessary.
It's irresponsible. Yeah, it's a weird choice for sure.
So we always close out the episode, our discussion, with the trophy thing. I
Yep.
have it here on my phone.
Let's do it.
So first we have the Allura Award for being the most unlikable. And I'm going to say it's the Shakari entity because he's the one who ends up making everything terrible.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily Cybok. Cybok is not great, but it's not really.
No,
He's tricked into thinking.
I like Cybok. I'm gonna say it's the cat lady. It's really unlikable. Really unlikable.
That's funny.
Is it supposed to be like an actual Cathian?
I don't know.
That's the other thing, is like they so want to desperately have this place be like Mos Eisley
Yes.
with all these wacky creatures.
Yes.
It's like,
Yes.
Cool.
Yep. Well, next is the Argyle Award for being most forgettable. I think it's the bald guy with the teeth.
Oh, yeah, he's a weird dude.
They focus on him.
Yeah, and then he just blends right into the background.
He just becomes a background guy, and he has like he's the opening of the movie. Like he is the face of the opening scene.
Oh
And
yeah.
all this stuff, and they're talking to him and all this stuff. You're a Vulcan, right? And then he's on the top of the wall, and he's like, "Oh, right." And then that's it. He's
He's in the back of shots after
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Wow, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I don't have a better one.
Okay. Next is the Denevian Neural Parasite Award for the best alien. I'm gonna say, because I like him a lot, and I think he looks great, and I'm gonna say Cord.
Oh, okay.
I think
Yeah.
he's
He looks like a Klingon
Yeah.
commander. Yeah.
that actor and the way he carried himself and the way he always has like his mug with probably bloodline.
Oh yeah.
He looks like a guy who is depressed and got sent out here. He doesn't want to be here, and
He's gonna
he's
drink
just
himself to death.
yeah, exactly.
I love the part where the people are coming into the bar
Okay.
and he just runs behind the counter to like refill his glass.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. I also like the thing when the Romulan comes into the room. She's like, hello. And he burps. She's like, oh, I guess
That's
that's.
Klingon for
He goes like,
So do Romulan females not have the weird eyebrows? Or do they forget what Romulans look like in this movie?
they forgot.
Figured
Somebody
so.
forgot what Romulans.
That's
were
why
supposed
they
to look
never
like.
introduced the rest of it. That's why they didn't put Romulans as a whole in this movie, because they're like, I don't remember what they look like.
They're beautiful women.
Oh, what about that weird scene too, where like Sulu and Chekhov are like walking behind that Klingon lady, and they're like, "Oh, she's got very nice muscles."
And then they're following her, and she goes over to the other Klingons, and they're like, "Oh, well, we're not going to go over there."
So weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
So weird.
That's weird. Next is Data Award for the MVP. Kirk is great because he kind of pushes back
Yeah,
at the end of the movie with all that stuff.
it's always Spock.
But Spock saves Kirk.
Spock saves Kirk. He doesn't blatantly murder his brother.
Sure.
He also resists the,
Yeah, like the brainwash flashback thing, yeah.
and he shows when he swivels around in the Klingon gunner chair at the end. It's pretty good.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take Spock. Yeah.
You Klingon,
If you want me.
shoot me, you Klingon. And then he gets up there and it's just like, I heard what you called me, kid. I heard everything you said on the planet.
I heard everything.
I can't believe you called me these things.
Yeah. Next is the Warp Award for the best action sequence.
It's when they bring out that big, like, minigun. Like, yeah. And then I think it's Sulu. He's just like, and blows up the whole building.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
I don't know. I don't remember anything else.
Yeah.
Probably the shuttle going in.
Yeah. It's dumb, but I don't
Yeah.
know. No, I don't know.
And they're like, fire torpedoes! And they fire their torpedoes, and they're like, all right, warp 6. And the thing just like goes past where the ship was. Yeah. Like, oh,
I'm gonna
he's
take-
good. He's good.
Oh, he's good.
He's good.
I'm gonna. You know what? I'm just gonna take the Sulu shooting the thing because everything else is really dumb.
Really lame. Yeah, there's no.
Like I don't want to say Spock neck pinching the horse because
Yeah,
that's
that's stupid. I like
him
when
fighting the Kathian Catwoman is not.
It's really bad. I like when the spikes come out of the ground. And they're like, oh, and Spock is just like, and he just kind of like steps over to the left.
1701-D award
Oh, yeah.
for some sweet ship stuff.
I like when they are going through the corridors
Mm.
where Scotty like busts him out of prison,
Oh, okay.
and he's like, "Oh, you're gonna take a left at the hyper beam, then you're gonna go down for about a quarter of a mile. You're gonna take a right at the quantum flux capacitor. You're gonna go left, and you can't miss it." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you, Scotty. Thank you, Scotty."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I was gonna say the Klingon ship model,
That's pretty good too. Yeah.
but I think you swayed me on it when you mentioned the Copernicus.
Yeah.
I think that's sweet to see that again.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's not the same from the animated.
Yeah. They just renamed.
Yeah, I think shuttles are just cool. So that's
I
what
like
I'm
the
gonna say.
shuttles. Yeah, the shuttles are pretty cool.
Next is the Tellur Award for the cheesiest thing of the movie.
Oh god.
I'm going to say that the cheesiest thing of the movie is Kirk standing on that rock face, going like this, going on the back, and it's the face of the creature, and he's like, "If you want me," right? And then the Klingons, they blow up the thing, and then the Klingon ship comes up, and he's like, "Kill me, you Klingons!" like that. It's so dumb.
It's over the top, yeah. For me, it's Kirk falling off the mountain.
Mm.
And it's Spock like hesitating, being like, and then he's like, and then you see his feet, and then he's like,
Yeah,
and catches him like a foot before he hits the ground.
it is really bad.
It's really bad. It's really cheesy. I don't hate it, but it's definitely cheesy.
I'll take it.
Because then McCoy comes running over and he's like, "Oh, you mind if we drop in for dinner?" And it's like, "Oh my god, this is so bad."
Yeah,
It's pretty great.
it's bad. Yeah. And lastly is the Next Generation Award for the best scene of the movie.
It's definitely the camp scene.
Marshmallow.
It's the whole thing. Eating beans,
I'm gonna tell you,
eating marshmallows.
I'll sift it down to the best. It's when he says, "I knew I wasn't gonna die."
I like that scene a lot. Yeah.
To me, that's a great. That carries.
Mm-hmm.
That carries and has good weight with it, and it really it's the thing, and that's what. Oh, that's right. It was the episode where they go through the purple gateway thing when they find the little metal discs. I can't think what the episode's called right now, but
God.
when they go through, it's like, well, why would Kirk just run ahead when he hears people screaming?
yeah.
And he's like, Bones, come in. And I said in that review, I said, well, it makes me think of this part in the movie because Kirk acts so like intense and so like brash because he doesn't think he's gonna die because
He's confident.
He's
that
with
not
them.
gonna die. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's cool.
it's great. I think it's good.
It's a good scene.
Yeah. So that brings it to a conclusion.
Yeah.
I look forward to
I
hearing what
wish-
your full takes are for all of
I
them.
wish Cybok could relieve me of the pain of watching this movie.
Just cut to you in your living room watching this and then being like, no. And he's like,
No.
why did you watch it? He's like, because
I
my
had
brother-in-law wanted to.
I had to.
Yeah.
No.
It's like, yeah, but you can let it go.
And he just makes me watch it all over again. To get through the pain of
And then
it.
just cut to somebody else, like making somebody else we know watching it because now you're okay with the pain, right? Maybe
You have to watch this movie. That's you.
Yeah, that is me.
I think this movie's grown on me, he says. So this was The Final Frontier, and next is what? The Journey to
The Undiscovered Country.
Undiscovered Country. Okay. Yeah.
The title that you thought was not an excellent title for a Star Trek film, remember? They were going to call 2 The Undiscovered Country.
Yeah. It's
So
not
now
great.
6.
I think those titles are very similar. Like this is The Final Frontier.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, so that makes me think that like they're going somewhere really far out in space that like no one's ever been to.
Yeah.
And this one is like the Undiscovered Country, which makes me think they're going somewhere very far out in space that no one's ever been to.
Yeah.
Yeah, very samey.
Yeah. I again won't give you anything. I am interested to see what you think of the movie. When we get there.
What should they have called this movie?
This one?
Yeah. Not The Final Frontier, because they didn't go to the Final Frontier.
They had the whole thing when he looks down and it says where no man has gone before.
I like that it was...
And that's what it
yeah,
is.
and that's
Zero.
basically...
Space,
yeah.
the final frontier,
Yeah.
right? So it's like... They're
But that just means that anything undiscovered in space is the final frontier.
correct.
Until you discover it, then it's
Until
not.
you realize that Roddenberry wrote that because of Wagon Train. Because
The final
the frontier
Mhm.
was called Out West. The West was called
Yeah,
the final.
frontier.
Not
Oregon
just-
Trail. And
It wasn't called the final frontier. It was just called the frontier. And so now the
Yeah.
final frontier
is space.
is space.
Yeah, I get it.
Got it.
What about the depths of the ocean?
Nope, they already figured that out.
Okay.
All set. They know all about whales.
All the whales are gone.
Don't got to look at anything else in the ocean.
The whales are dead. Move
Yeah.
on.
So that'll be next Undiscovered Country, number 6. And then we go right into Next Generation.
Ooh, we're going to discover the country.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go into some Picard.
Picard.
We're going to get to see the holodeck, all this new technology.
Everything.
Not even going to be the same.
Everything's going to be
Same
different.
show.
Everything's going to be different.
Yeah, it's going to be sad moving on, honestly.
Hey.
I've really come attached to the Enterprise crew. This Enterprise.
And I think that's what a lot of people had too.
Good.
But I think looking at it from yourself is you had a hard time when we were leaving when you left Enterprise and now we were going to start Kirk stuff. You were like,
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
kind of bummed that we're not dealing with Archer and Trip and all
Yeah,
those people.
I wasn't looking forward to like going back to like the cheesy 50s,
Yeah.
but I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to. And the movies have been fun. So
Yeah. And I think you'll be impressed with how these TV shows end up making everything feel
yeah,
big.
yeah. Well, and I love Picard anyway, so I'm looking forward to seeing him as captain.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's gonna be pretty great. Yeah, so that covers the Final Frontier. And so, like I said in the beginning, if you want to see Star Trek Weekly, go to the Daystrom Holodeck. That's ran by Will. We do Star Trek Weekly. And coming up here in a couple weeks, we're going to start Next Generation. And we're not skipping any episodes of that. So I know in the TOS there was a lot of episodes that we skipped in seasons because they just don't really progress story.
No.
But yeah, so we're going to be doing that shortly. We got one more movie coming up here on this channel. And then you can see us weekly over on the Daystrom holodeck.
Every single week.
Every single
To the end of time.
to the ends. Yeah.
To the final frontier.
Oh God. Yeah, so thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching these. Let us know what you think of this movie below. If you've seen it, if you haven't seen it, if you like it, if you hate it. So let us know. Relive your pain in the comment section so that you can move on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then that's it for us. We'll see you guys next time we talk about Trek.
Captain's log, Stardate is fun. Every line a classic run. Warp speed to adventure unknown. In this universe, we're never alone. Will we find Spock in the deep black void? Will Khan's revenge be fully employed? Engage engines, let the story unfold. To boldly go where tales are told. Will we find Spock in the deep black void? Will Khan's revenge be fully employed? Engage engines, let the story unfold. To boldly go where tales are told. Where tales are told.
Space, the final frontier. These are the continuing voyages of the starship Enterprise.